It's time to give the Democrats some competition for African American votes and for Hispanic votes. Hillary Clinton is a bigot who sees people of color only as votes, not as human beings worthy of a better future. So, to the African American voter, great people, to the Hispanic voter who have been absolutely treated terribly, I say, what do you have to lose? What? I will fix it. I'll be able to make sure that when you walk down the street in your inner city or wherever you are, you're not going to be shot. Your child isn't going to be shot.
Okay, that first bite you heard was Donald Trump last night accusing Hillary Clinton of being a bigot. That was in Jackson, Mississippi. Note that Jackson is a city that is 80% African American. Joining us from Washington, attorney and Republican strategist Ben Ginsberg. And at Trump Tower here in New York City, NBC News correspondent Hallie Jackson, who's covering the Trump campaign. First of all, Hallie, give us a sense of the meeting today, and then we'll get Ben's sense of what the strategy is here.
Yeah, so the meeting today happening here later this morning at Trump Tower. Donald Trump meeting with Republican, African-American, and Hispanic activists, part of this Republican leadership initiative that was put together by the RNC last year. The idea is to bring these young folks in for maybe 6 weeks or so to do some training on how to organize and get out there so they can be sent in the field to help with ground game. So these are the people who will be coming and meeting with Trump today. You have got to imagine that his immigration positions are going to come up. Donald Trump is now promising that within the next week and a half to 2 weeks, he's going to reveal more details about this policy, which a lot of people will be looking for, particularly after his comments, as you heard last night, where he appeared to weigh this really dramatic change in his policy of what to do with some of the undocumented immigrants living here, families in particular. Last year, he told Chuck Todd they have to go. Now he's saying that there's potentially maybe a way to work with them, talking about how difficult it is for some of these families. At least that's what he hears. So you've got immigration. The other part of it that will likely come up, Trump's outreach, as we've been talking about on this show for the last few days, to African-American communities. It is a bit controversial. I mean, listen, you heard him talking there. Critics say he's essentially condescending to African-Americans. And the other part of it is Hillary Clinton is a bigot. That line that he said at the rally last night, calling her a bigot, he has attempted to portray or talk about her bigotry in the past, but this is the first time that we heard something this tough and this direct. And I have to note that this was not an off-the-cuff comment from Trump, right? This isn't Trump going off script or going off message. This was a scripted line in the teleprompter that Trump read. And it is clearly part of his campaign strategy to go after Clinton. She, by the way, is going to be going after him on this today at her speech in Reno. She previewed that a little bit, talking about how she believes that he is peddling what she called a culture of bigotry and prejudice, and in her words, taking a hate movement mainstream.
So, Ben, tell me what kind of solid Republican strategy you see happening here.
Well, it's good to see that the rhetoric in the campaign is rising here. So look, Republicans, there are a number of Republicans who have successful outreach as part of their campaigns to African-American communities and Hispanic communities and tribal communities. So Republicans do know how to run that play in isolated instances. The problem is it's got to be part of a long-term commitment that happens over a course of a campaign and a course of public service. It's a little bit tough to launch this in August before the election.
All right, a couple of new state polls this morning. Let's start in North Carolina. A CNN ORC poll shows Hillary Clinton up by just 1 point, and a Monmouth poll shows her up by 2. Other recent polls had shown her up by as much as 9%. In Arizona, Trump is up 5% in the CNN poll, 49-44. John Hallman, I think both sides, you could argue, should be doing so much better, but ... What is, finish the sentence.
But they're both really unpopular. The two most unpopular, disliked major party nominees in our lifetimes happen to be running against each other in the same election, which is kind of an incredible historical anomaly.
It really is.
You know, but you look at these polls, you know, it is the case that Arizona poll has Clinton within the margin of error in Arizona.
Yeah.
She just opened an office in Georgia, which has not been a competitive state for Democrats in years. The North Carolina poll is going to be, it's a purple state, it's a battleground state, it's going to be close. You know, Missouri, we saw a poll yesterday that has a 1-point race in Missouri. Right now,
Right.
Missouri, Arizona, Georgia, that those are competitive states
Right.
at this phase in a general election, states that Democrats have not competed in a significant way in decades.
So
tells you something about why Donald Trump is doing the things he's doing right now, which is he's looking at those polls and saying, if Georgia's competitive, I'm losing.
Okay, so in that, let's look at the Senate side of things. In that CNN Arizona poll, Senator John McCain is comfortably ahead by 13. But meanwhile, a new forecast by the New York Times Upshot shows the odds are in the Democrats' favor to reclaim control of the Senate this fall. Their newest forecast gives Democrats a 60% chance, calculating that the party needs to win 5 seats among the 11 most competitive races. They also estimate a 17% chance the Senate winds up evenly split, with a Democratic vice president providing the tie-breaking vote. And the Upshot forecasts that Hillary Clinton has an 89% chance of winning the presidency. According to the Times, Clinton's chance of losing is, quote, about the same probability of an NFL kicker missing a field goal from the 20-yard line.
Right. No, I have seen that happen.
I've seen that. Scott
It's
Nolan.
happened.
I've seen that happen, but
Wide right.
it doesn't happen often.
So I guess for Republicans hoping to hold on to their positions in Congress and in the Senate, I'm trying to get my arms around Donald Trump's policies as they're developing over time. We showed on the show here, and I don't know if you caught it, his evolution on immigration. What he said on our show back in November versus what he said in sort of like a Family Feud style polling on Fox News about immigration. And so is this a candidate that you can follow and understand exactly where his views are and truly believe that he has researched them? And I ask that because then I wonder how you get behind a candidate like this if you're a Republican leader, because you know you're going to most probably end up getting burned. Does that make sense?
Well, 2 points. First of all, what you're going to see with the Trump campaign is a little bit of a litmus test for America on, is this a contest about ideas or is it a contest about personality?
Right.
And if it's personality, then kind of the Donald Trump, what he's doing now makes sense. The second is, just to fast forward to House and Senate races, one of the great quandaries that we'll be looking is what the actual turnout models are in different states. Does Hillary Clinton turn out people who support her but may support a Republican Senate candidate? Do Republican state parties just turn out Donald Trump supporters, or do they turn out Trump supporters who may vote for a Democratic candidate, or do they turn out Republicans brought in the registration drives who'll vote for their Senate candidates, but not necessarily for Donald Trump?
All right, Mike.
Hallie, do you know, according to your reporting from sources within the campaign, is there any plan with the new people running the campaign to get Donald Trump out on a sidewalk in an African-American community talking about African-Americans rather than standing on the stage in front of a group of wealthy white people?
Right. Yes. I can tell you this, a top campaign aide is saying that he will be getting out to black neighborhoods, African-American communities, to be delivering remarks potentially and presumably in a more interactive way. He's also, I think you guys had Dr. Ben Carson on. Ben Carson is going to be planning, at least he says, a trip with Trump to a community to kind of do just that, right? Walk him around and get him interacting with people, because it has raised eyebrows that he is somebody who has gone to these mostly white communities, with the exception of Jackson last night, and delivered this message of outreach. When you ask his campaign about that, they'll say, well, hey, he's got a national spotlight, right? He's delivering a message. You know, when he talks, people beyond just the room listen, but critics have sort of questioned that strategy a little bit. I also just want to jump in on the immigration discussion here, too, because, you know, Mika, you referenced that series of sound bites that you played on Trump's apparent evolution on some of his immigration positions over the last, 9 months or so. And I'll tell you right now, and especially over the last maybe 12, 18 hours, as his comments have come out on the Fox News town hall, it's almost like in some conservative circles, a bit of a heads exploding moment. People looking at this going, we told you so, right? We've been saying this for months, and I'm talking about Donald Trump's primary challengers, people on Jeb Bush's team, people on John Kasich's team going, oh my gosh, he's accusing him basically of stealing their positions and doing exactly what they predicted he would do. Particularly, I think of somebody like a Ted Cruz. We were there during all these debates, right? And Cruz's big line was Donald Trump is going to flip. And now you're seeing Cruz staffers and Cruz folks just going, whoa, this is exactly what we said he would do. Now, grain of salt, right? These are people who were not predisposed to like Donald Trump in the first place, so it's no surprise they're being critical.
Yeah, but they also predicted it, and it happened. Hallie Jackson, thank you very much. And Ben Ginsberg, thank you as well.